Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 battle report brought to you by the Legion Wargaming, and today we return to the planet on which the Vanguard First Company were slaughtered by the Eldar aspect hosts under the guidance of the Seer Council of Ulthwé. The Imperial High Command is desperate to seize this planet back from the Eldar, and they have decided that they need to remove the Eldar High Command. But to deal with their psychic might, they require some of their own, so they have enlisted the help of the 666th chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, known as the Grey Knights, and a Nemesis Strike Force is on its way to purge the Eldar witches. The battle today is 2,000 points. It's a Maelstrom of War mission, cleanse and control, and it will be Vanguard Strike deployment. The Grey Knights will be deploying in the far corner, and they have already placed objectives 1, 3 and 5 in the shadow of this ruined Administratum building. The Eldar will be deploying in this table corner, and they have already placed objectives 2, 4, and on the first floor of this building 6. The battle today will be fought in a ruined Imperial sector. The Grey Knights have located the Eldar High Command and will be deep striking to take them out. First time we're seeing Grey Knights on this channel, and we are very much looking forward to it. Let's take a look at them. This 2,000 point Grey Knights army is a single Nemesis Strike Force detachment and is led by a Librarian in Terminator armour. He has been upgraded to Mastery level 3 and he has brought 4 troops in this detachment. A squad of Grey Knights Terminators with Nemesis, Force Swords and an Incinerator. Another squad of Grey Knights Terminators, they have Nemesis, Force Halberds and they have a Silencer, and 2 Strike Squads. These both have Nemesis, Force Halberds and Incinerators and will be deploying by Deep Strike. He has also filled all 4 elite slots in this Nemesis Strike Force detachment. First choice is a squad of the dreaded Paladins. They have 3 Falchions and a Psy Cannon, and for some more psychic might, a squad of 6 Purifiers. And the final 2 elite choices are 2 Grey Knights Dreadnoughts, one with Twin Link Las Cannon and Power Fist, and the other with a Twin Link Las Cannon and a missile launcher to provide some long range anti-tank firepower. He has also brought along in his heavy support slot a Nemesis Dreadknight. He has a great sword, a Gatling silencer and a personal teleporter. And finally, in the 2 fast attack slots we have 2 squads of Interceptors. The first with Nemesis Force Swords, the Justicar has a Demon Hammer and they have an Incinerator, and the second squad, they all have Nemesis Force Halberds and the Justicar has a Demon Hammer. There's quite a lot of Grey Knights in this detachment. They are rightly feared, but do they have the psychic might to take on the Eldar? Let's take a look at what the Eldar have brought along. This 2,000 point Eldar list is a single combined arms detachment and 2 formations, and the Seer Council representing the Eldar High Command are back. 2 Farseers, 4 Warlocks, they all have singing spears and a lot of psychic potential, and they have brought their bodyguards with them again. An aspect host, 6 Fire Dragons with an Exarch, 6 Dire Avengers with an Exarch and 5 Dark Reapers with an Exarch, and they will once again have ballistic skill 5, making them very deadly. The Eldar, like the Imperium, have received their own reinforcements A combined arms detachment from Craftworld Eandon has arrived, and it is led by 2 Spirit Seers. They have brought with them a squad of their own Craftworlds Dire Avengers, 10 of those, a squad of Guardians with a scatter laser, and crucially the spirits of their ancestors. 2 squads each of 5 Wraith Guard. With their D cannons, they're both mounted in Wave Serpents with Twin Link Bright Lances, and the Wraith Lord, and he has Flamers, a Bright Lance and an Eldar missile launcher. They've also brought along 2 Falcon Grav tanks. They have their pulse lasers, and they've been upgraded with Star Cannon as their secondary weapon. This army has a lot of psychic might with the Spirit Seers and crucially the Seer Council. We are expecting an epic psychic clash against the Grey Knights. Let's see how the armies deploy. And the armies have deployed, with the Grey Knights anchoring their right flank with the towering, glittering Nemesis Dreadknight. He'll be looking to shunt forward, no doubt. He is backed up by long range fire support Dreadnought, currently sitting on objective 3, and a squad of interceptors, doubtless looking to follow the Dreadknight's example and shunt forward as quickly as possible. The other Dreadnought deploying, looking to seize objective 5, and to the rear of this large ruined building we have another squad of interceptors looking to shunt forwards. And on the ground floor of this ruin, the Purifiers have taken up position to oversee their brothers. They want to be on the table to add their psychic powers right from the outset. But the Grey Knights have of course left a lot in reserve. This being a Nemesis Strike Force, they have left both strike squads, both squads of Terminators, the Paladins and their level 3 Librarian. But they can of course begin to deep strike from turn 1. The Eldar counter deployment is quite aggressive as well. The Dire Avengers squad of 10 is looking to move forward into the upper floors of this ruin to secure this objective, and the centre of the Eldar line is held by the Walking Dead. Both Wave Serpents have a squad of Wraith Guard with a Spirit Seer embarked upon them, and the Wraith Lord is looking on. He's got good cover behind this building, and he's got heavy weapons and some good targets. The central objective, the Eldar line's being held by the Eandon Guardians. They are going to hold position, give fire with their scatter laser and hang on to objective 4. And the Seer Council themselves, they've taken up a position at the rear of the Eldar line. They know that they are vital to the Eldar success on this planet, and they are preparing themselves for the inevitable mental onslaught that's going to be launched on them by the Grey Knights. The Eldar left flank, we have the Aspect Host. The Dark Reapers have taken up great firing positions in this building. The Grey Knights must be very worried about them. And the 2 Falcons, the first containing a squad of Dire Avengers and the second containing the Fire Dragons. They are currently holding this objective, and they can also move forward very quickly to flank the Grey Knights. And of course it all depends where the deep strike elements of the Nemesis Strike Force come down. The Grey Knights deployed first, so unless the Eldar sees the initiative, we will be going into Grey Knights turn 1. The Eldar have failed to seize the initiative, so we are beginning Grey Knights turn 1, and the objectives they have drawn are secure objective 6, which is in this building, and the dice are fully supportive of the background to this game, as well as they have also drawn Witch Hunter and Kingslayer. The Grey Knights have been ordered to take out the Eldar High Command, and they are all witches. Let's see how many elements of the Nemesis Strike Force arrive to help them achieve that. End of Grey Knight's movement phase turn 1, and the Dreadknight and both Dreadnoughts have held position. Their weapons are in range of some good targets. They're going to wait and see what the Eldar do before moving forwards. This squad of interceptors is likewise going to see how the Eldar react before employing their teleporters, and the purifiers are creeping through the ground floor of this ruined building. But the rest of the Nemesis Strike Force have been very, very aggressive. This squad of interceptors engaged their personal teleporters and they have leapt forward. They are securing objective 6 and they're going to incinerate a lot of dire Avengers and use their storm bolters as well, no doubt. But to cries of no guts, no glory, the Grey Knights are proceeding with their mission. The Paladins with the Librarian have deep struck right in the heart of the Eldar position, and they are backed up by further very, very courageous deep strikes from one squad of Terminators and one of the strike squads. The Eldar Psykers find themselves surrounded by vengeful Grey Knights. One squad of normal Grey Knights, they scattered and they suffered a deep strike mishap when they went off the table, but they have gone back into ongoing reserves, and the Grey Knights have one more squad of Terminators that failed to arrive from reserve. But the Grey Knights really have, in their first movement phase, demonstrated how aggressively they are going to conduct this battle. Let's see how they get on in their first psychic phase. End of Grey Knights psychic phase turn 1, and there were massive psychic energies employed. The phase opened with the Dread Knight casting Sanctuary on himself, which the Eldar Psykers decided they did not want to waste their precious power denying at this stage. The brother Librarian targeted the Wraith Lord with Vortex of Doom, hoping for a lucky scatter, and very, very concerned about denying Cleansing Flame, which the brother Librarian was doubtless going to follow up with. The Seer Council let it go. Unfortunately for them, the blast scattered from the Wraith Lord and took out one of the Farseers and a Warlock. And now the remains of the Seer Council are stood right next to the swirling vortex. To rub salt into the wound, having saved all of their 16 dice to deny Cleansing Flame, the brother Librarian failed to summon up enough power to cast it. So, a good psychic phase for the Grey Knights. Let's see if they can complete the destruction of the Seer Council in their first shooting phase. End of Grey Knight shooting phase turn 1, and in a terrible display of accuracy, the Nemesis Dread Knight only managed to shoot down one of the Eandan Guardians with his Gatling silencer. Both Dreadnoughts targeted the left-hand Wave Serpent with their twin-link las cannons. They had one penetrating hit, but the Serpent shield downgraded that to a glance. Both the Interceptors and the Purifiers ran forward 1 inch through these ruins. They seem to be being bogged down there, but the attack of the Grey Knights has been very, very effective. Between their Storm Bolters and the Incinerator, this Interceptor squad took down 6 of the dire Avengers, but the remaining 4 have held morale. They are brave, but can they take on a whole squad of Interceptors? We will see. But the decapitating strike has been 100% successful. In fact, the fire from this strike squad and this Terminator squad was enough to gun down the remaining Farseer and his Warlocks, freeing off the Paladins to target the Dark Reapers, and they shot down 2 of them. The Nemesis Strike Force formation allows deep striking Grey Knights to run after they have fired in the turn they arrive, and these squads have sought cover, but they also are quite keen to steer clear of the swirling vortex summoned by their brother librarian. Still, this has been a devastating turn from the Grey Knights. Can the Eldar recover from the loss of the Seer Council and their warlord in the first turn? We shall see, but first let's see how the Grey Knights have got on with their objectives. End of Grey Knights turn 1, and the Sons of Titan have done unbelievably well. They have managed to get a point for Witch Hunter, 2 more points for Slay the Warlord, and a point for securing Objective 6. And of course they also get another point, because as well as Kingslayer you get a point for Slay the Warlord itself, and they've also managed to achieve First Blood with the death of the Seer Council. So in their first turn, thanks to some kamikaze style deep strikes with huge risk, it's really paid off for the Grey Knights. They have scored 6 points. Let's see how the Eldar respond. They must be reeling. Going into Eldar turn 1. Beginning of Eldar turn 1, and the Emperor himself must be personally intervening in the Grey Knights' favour for this battle, because at the start of the turn the vortex moved and decided to settle itself directly over the damaged Wave Serpent. Not only that, the roll on the D table was then a 6. So it exploded. Not only that, 2 of the Wraith Guard, which are toughness 6, were taken out by a strength 4 explosion. So the Eldar, reeling as they are from the onslaught of the Grey Knights, do not seem to be getting any luck at all at the moment. Still, pressing on, their objectives are to secure Objective 6. They want to take it back from the Grey Knights. They also have to achieve psychological warfare. Not the easiest against this Nemesis Strike Force. And I can see why they have been ordered to hold the line. The Grey Knights have driven a silver wedge straight through the middle of the Eldar battle line. Let's see what they can do in their first turn. End of Eldar movement phase turn 1, and their response has been characteristically swift. Both Falcons moved up and deployed the Fire Dragons and the Dire Avengers. The entire aspect host is now surrounding the Paladins and the Librarian. They want to wreak a swift vengeance for the death of their Seer Council. They're going to unleash everything they have to try and take out the Grey Knights commander. They will be supported by the Yandan Guardians. There's a lot of shuriken fire coming from them, while the Wraith Lord and the remnants of this squad of Wraith Guard move to take out the Strike Squad and the Terminators. The Grey Knights knew they could be risking their lives, certain death, in deep striking right into the centre of the Eldar position, and it looks like that may very well be the case. The other Wave Serpent has moved up and has deployed the other Spirit Seer and another squad of Wraith Guard. The Dire Avengers can't take out this Interceptor squad on their own. So there will be some D weapons firing in support. Maybe that will be enough to destroy these Grey Knights, while the Dire Avengers move up into the ruined towers. They are going to add their fire to that of the Wraith Guard, and they are also going to try and achieve the objective of seizing objective number 6. The Grey Knights were very, very aggressive. Could they now be made to pay? The entire Eldar army is surrounding them. But first, we go into the Eldar's first psychic phase, much reduced due to the demise of the Seer Council. End of Eldar turn 1 psychic phase, and the psychic superiority that the Grey Knights have achieved has become apparent painfully quickly. Despite managing to get invisibility off on his own squad with 5 successful warp charges, the Grey Knight's brother Librarian is a higher level. He is within 12 inches, he has a psychic hood, and he rerolls 1s due to the Aegis. He managed to easily deny that power. and the remainder of the Eldar warp charges were used by this Spirit Seer attempting to cast Psychic Shriek, but once again the Grey Knights had plenty and plenty of denying dice with the Aegis. They denied that as well. I think the Eldar are not going to be very effective in the Psychic phase, certainly until the Brother Librarian is dead. That could happen quite quickly though, going into Eldar turn 1 shooting phase. End of Eldar shooting phase turn 1, and vengeance on the Librarian of the Grey Knights was swift. The Fire Dragons opened fire with their fusion guns. They took out a Paladin, and he was next in line. He failed his lookout, sir, and he went down as well. Earning the Eldar slay the Warlord. The Dire Avengers, who have battle focus back behind the wall, and the Guardians, they all open fire with their Shrieking Catapults, but unfortunately they only managed to take down one more Paladin, and the Dark Reapers also open fire, managing to do another wound, but the Paladins are still standing strong. They have passed their leadership check, unsurprisingly. These Wraith Guard have obviously been adversely affected from their ejection from their Wave Serpent, and they, although they got a couple of hits on the Grey Knights, were defeated by the cover saves granted by these barricades. But the Wraith Lord opened up with his Flamers, and he managed to take out one Grey Knight from the Strike Squad, and luckily one Terminator. But the loss of the Brother Librarian has hit the Grey Knights quite hard. On the Eldar right, this squad of Wraith Guard, they open fire with their D cannons through the building. They managed to take out 3 of the interceptors. The Dire Avengers tried to take down some more with their Avenger catapults, but did not kill any. They have ran forward, and at least they have seized Objective 6, which was one of the Eldar objectives this turn. All of the Eldar Grav tanks are very worried that the Nemesis Dreadnought has not contributed much to the Grey Knight's assault yet. They all targeted him, but with Sanctuary on, he has passed all of his invulnerable saves. So the Eldar have achieved some success in their first shooting phase. Will it be enough? We'll see. But the Wraith Knight has decided that he's smaller than a Wraith Knight and is actually a Wraith Lord. But he has also decided that he is going to assault this Strike Squad. Going into Eldar Assault Phase, turn 1. End of Eldar turn 1 Assault Phase, and the Wraith Lord waded through the Overwatch fire from the Grey Knight Stormbolters. They had no effect on the towering Wraith bone structure at all, and he squashed 2 more Grey Knights with his fists, but the remaining 2 from this Strike Squad have held morale. They remain locked in combat. It's been a fairly effective turn from the Eldar. Given the adversity that they faced at the end of the Grey Knight's first turn, I think they've done quite well. Let's see how they've got on in terms of objective points. End of Eldar turn 1, and they managed to get a victory point for securing Objective 6, and they also managed to get Slay the Warlord, thanks to the death of the Grey Knight's Brother Librarian. They did not achieve Psychological Warfare, and they did not achieve Hold the Line. They are discarding Hold the Line. Bringing the score at the end of Eldar turn 1 to 6 points to the Grey Knights and only 2 to the Eldar. Going into Grey Knights turn 2 and some more deep striking probably. Beginning of Grey Knights turn 2, and they have drawn Secure Objective 5, which should be easy for them. They have also drawn Hungry for Glory, and they have drawn Secure Objective 2, which currently being held by the Aspect Host. Their squad of Terminators that they still have in reserve has still not turned up, but the Strike Squad that went back into ongoing reserves will be having another go at teleporting into battle. Let's see. Grey Knights turn 2. End of Grey Knights movement phase, turn 2. But before any of the Grey Knights could move, they were treated to the spectacle of the vortex spectacularly collapsing in on itself. With the roll of a double, it disappeared. The Nemesis Dreadnought has come stomping forward. He's not yet used his personal teleporter. He thinks that maybe this Falcon has got a bit close. Or if not, he's still got his Gatling silencer that he can maybe use on the Eandon Guardians. The two Grey Knights Dreadnoughts have decided that the threat that needs to be eliminated is the Wraith constructs with their deadly weapons. They are targeting them with their twin-link las cannons. The Interceptor squad has moved forward through the ruins to bring their storm bolters into range, and the Purifiers have taken up position in the top floors of this building. They've got quite a few targets for their storm bolters from there. This strike squad obviously did not learn its lesson from its attempt to deep strike in the first turn, but their gung-ho nature has paid off this time. They have hit directly where they wanted to, and they are going to combine fire with the Dreadnoughts using their incinerator to take out the Wraith Guard. This Interceptor squad is also going to use their incinerator. The Battle Brother carrying it is still alive, and he is going to wash the flames over the Wraith constructs. The Paladins have decided that they are hungry for glory, and they are moving towards this squad of Wraithguard because they want to challenge the Spirit Seer and take his head. And the other Terminator squad are moving to help their battle brothers in power armour against the towering form of the Wraith Lord. I think they will need a couple of psychic powers in support to take it out, but the Grey Knights are currently enjoying psychic superiority over this battlefield. Let's see how they get on in their second psychic phase. End of Grey Knight psychic phase turn 2, and the Eldar did manage to deny Sanctuary by the Nemesis Dreadnought, but they could not do anything about the 17 warp charge points that the Grey Knights used to put force and hammer hand on the strike squad and the Terminators and the Paladins. So this could be a pretty nasty assault phase from the Eldar's point of view. But first, we've got the shooting phase. Let's see what happens. End of Grey Knight shooting phase turn 2, and the Dire Avengers holding objective 6 have been wiped out. They went to ground behind the cover of the parapet, but it was shredded by a hail of storm bolter fire from the Purifiers and from the Interceptor squad moving through the ruins in the centre. The Wraith Guard found themselves washed with fire. The Interceptors took out one construct with their incinerator, and the newly arrived strike squad took out another with a burst of flame, and each of the Grey Knights Dreadnoughts picked off another Wraith Guard apiece with their twin-link las cannons. There's still one Wraith Guard left with the Spirit Seer, but the effectiveness of that squad certainly has been reduced. The Paladins open fire with their storm bolters as they move towards this squad, but the Eldar proved impervious to their firepower. The Wraith Knight has not fired. He is preparing a charge against this Falcon. Maybe he thinks by masquerading as a Wraith Knight the Eldar won't shoot at him. He is of course a Nemesis Dreadnought. His plan has been forward already, and Terminators have not fired since they intend to charge the Wraith Lord. Let's see how the Grey Knights get on in their assault phase turn 2. End of Grey Knights assault phase turn 2, and the bad news for the Eldar just keeps on coming. The Paladins made their charge with hammerhand and force, and issuing a challenge along the way, they tore this squad of Wraith Guard and their Spirit Seer to pieces. And despite him punching down one Terminator with his mighty fists again, force and hammer hand, meant that the Wraith Lord was down pretty quickly as well. The one piece of good news for the Eldar is that the Nemesis Dread Knight has failed his charge. But still, the Grey Knights look like they've done a very effective job of clearing out a lot of the dangerous Eldar units. But the Eldar still have the aspect host pretty much untouched. They only lost a couple of Dark Reapers, so they are a potentially deadly force that the Eldar can still employ. But let's see how the Grey Knights have got on with objectives in their second turn. During their second turn, the Grey Knights failed to secure Objective 2, which is being held by the Dire Avengers and the Falcons over this side of the field, but they did manage to get a point for Hungry for Glory when the Paladin challenged the Spirit Seer, and they get a point for securing Objective 5 as well with that Dreadnought. So they got 2 points this turn, and it brings the score at the end of Grey Knights turn 2 to 8 points to the Grey Knights and only 2 to the Eldar. The Eldar look to be up against it going into their second turn. Beginning of Eldar turn 2, and they have had a favourable draw of objectives. They have to secure Objective 2, which they are holding. They have to achieve Kingslayer, which they have already achieved, so that's some useful bonus points for them. And they have to achieve Overwhelming Firepower as well. I think that suits them given their current situation. Let's see what they do. Eldar turn 2. End of Eldar turn 2 movement phase, and the Eldar are now selecting their targets very carefully. All of their grav tanks are going to focus their firepower onto the Dread Knight. They cannot allow that to start exerting its influence over the battle, and the Spirit Seers did manage to deny Sanctuary in the previous turn, so maybe they can take it down. The Aspect Host, they have been tasked with wiping out the Terminators and the remnants of this Strike Squad, and the Guardians, along with the last remaining Wraith Guard and Spirit Seer, are going to try and take out the Paladins. That's potentially 3 or 4 units for Overwhelming Firepower, and doubtless the Fire Dragons are going to battle focus down onto that objective, although the Falcon may be close enough to hold it. Either way, the Eldar, with a good turn, could score a lot of points. Let's see how they get on. At first, can the remaining Spirit Seer hope to get any psychic powers off in the face of the Grey Knights' overwhelming psychic superiority? Let's see. Eldar Psychic Phase turn 2. End of Eldar Psychic Phase turn 2, and the answer is no. The one remaining Spirit Seer cannot hope to get any powers off in the face of the Grey Knight's overwhelming psychic superiority. He tried to get Psychic Shriek to work, but the Grey Knights threw a lot of dice at it and managed to stop it. So, not good news for the Eldar, psychically. Let's see how they get on in their second shooting phase. End of Eldar shooting phase turn 2, and it has been disappointing for the Eldar. The Wave Serpent unloaded its Bright Lances and its Serpent Shield into the Dread Knight, but did no damage at all. And the fire from the 2 Falcons, their pulse lasers and their star cannons, managed to do 3 wounds, but it remains alive on 1 wound. The Fire Dragons targeted the Grey Knight Terminators, but they only managed to take down 2 of them, meaning that the Dire Avengers also had to fire at the Terminators, but unfortunately the lone remaining Terminator made all of his saves from their shuriken catapults, meaning that the Guardians also had to fire all of their shots into the one remaining Terminator to finally take him down. So 3 whole squads having to concentrate on 3 Terminators there. Very disappointing. The Dark Reapers at least managed to take down the 2 remaining members of the Grey Knight Strike Squad. So that's another unit wiped out. But without the supporting fire from the Guardians, the Paladins remain as they were. The Wraith Guard targeted them with his Wraith Cannon, but he missed. So, although the Eldar have wiped out a couple of units this turn, it was very, very disappointing. They won't be even thinking about going into assault, so let's see how they've got on with their objectives during their second turn. Despite their attempts to take down the Grey Knights during their second turn being quite disappointing, the Eldar have done very well in terms of victory points. They managed to get 3 points for Kingslayer, having already taken out the Grey Knight's brother Librarian. They also got 1 point for overwhelming firepower, although they would have liked more. And they get another point for securing objective 2. The Falcon is close enough, freeing up the Fire Dragons. So, at the end of their second turn, the score is close. It is 8 points to the Grey Knights and 7 points to the Eldar. But we're beginning to think for the Grey Knights this is becoming a battle of extermination. Let's see if they can wipe the aliens from the battlefield. Going into Grey Knights turn 3. Start of Grey Knights turn 3 and their orders are clear. They have to overrun the Eldar position and they have been ordered to secure objectives 2 next to the Falcon, 4 held by the Eandon Guardians and 6. So they have the mobility to do it. They have a squad of Terminators arriving by deep strike as well this turn. Let's see if they can do that and wipe the Eldar out along the way. Grey Knights turn 3. End of Grey Knights turn 3 movement phase, and the final squad of Grey Knights Terminators has teleported in. Right into the centre of the battlefield, they are going to give fire against the Eandon Guardians holding objective 4. The Dread Knight has come stomping up. He knows that he has been badly damaged, but he wants to tear the Wave Serpent to pieces. And the 2 Dreadnoughts have been given their orders, which are to take out the last Wraith Guard and the Spirit Seer and free the charge path for this strike squad. This squad of Interceptors still have their Incinerator and they have jumped over to incinerate the Eandon Guardians, and the Paladins are stomping their way back into this ruin to see if they can deal with some of the Aspect Warriors, the only real threat remaining to them in their mighty Terminator armour. Across the other side of the field, the Purifiers, they have held position. They are there to provide warp charge points and give fire with their Stormbolters. And this squad of Interceptors has finally engaged their personal teleporters, and they have teleported right on top of objective 6, which they are now securing. So the Grey Knights are still on the offensive across the battlefield, and it remains to be seen how many Eldar will be left at the end of this turn. But first, the Eldar have to endure another punishing Psychic phase. End of Grey Knight Psychic phase turn 3, and the remaining Spirit Seer is completely overawed by the Psychic might arrayed against him. He had no chance of stopping Hammerhand being cast by the Paladins and by this strike squad and by this Interceptor squad, and the Dread Knight also managed to get off Sanctuary on himself as well. So another very, very dominant phase from the Grey Knights. Let's see how they get on in their shooting phase, turn 3. End of Grey Knight shooting phase, turn 3, and it's been another good one. Twin link las cannon fire from the 2 Dreadnoughts holding the centre of the Grey Knight's position took out the last Wraith Guard, and then the Spirit Seer himself was shredded by a volley of Stormbolter fire from the Purifiers still in the top floors of this ruined Administratum building. Then fire from the newly teleported Interceptors and the newly teleported Grey Knights Terminators, and crucially the Incinerator in this Interceptor squad has wiped out the Eandon Guardians, and that has allowed this strike squad to run and seize objective 4. So the Grey Knights have seized both objectives 6 and 4 so far. The Paladins did no damage to the Fire Dragons with their Stormbolters, but they are lining up for a charge. If they make it, I cannot see the Fire Dragons surviving all of their hammer-handed force weapon attacks. And of course, the Dread Knight is going to finally get his way and tear the Wave Serpent to bits as well. Going into Grey Knight's assault phase, turn 3. End of Grey Knight's turn 3 assault phase, and the domination continues. The Paladins took no damage from the overwatch of the Fire Dragons and butchered them all easily with their Nemesis Falchions and Hammerhand. And the Dread Knight swung his Nemesis Greatsword at the Wave Serpent several times. It did not explode, but it was easily wrecked. The Eldar are looking very, very thin on the ground now. 3 Dark Reapers, 6 Dire Avengers, and a couple of Falcons taking on most of the Grey Knights. Things have not gone well for the Eldar so far. Let's have a look how the Grey Knights got on with their objectives in their third turn. End of Grey Knight's turn 3, and they managed to secure objective 6 with the Interceptors, and through a storm of fire managed to secure objective 4 with the Strike Squad. Giving them 2 points for the turn, they did not manage to secure objective 2, still being held by one of the Eldar Falcons. Bringing the score at the end of Grey Knight's turn 3 to 10 points to the Grey Knights and 7 to the Eldar. Do the Eldar have enough to strike back with? Let's see, going into Eldar turn 3. Start of Eldar turn 3, and their objectives are secure objective 2, which they should be able to do. They're currently holding it with a Falcon. Secure objective 3. I don't think it's possible for them to destroy that Dreadnought and get something near enough to secure it. So I don't think that one's going to happen. And I'm sure domination is not going to happen because they do not have 6 units remaining. So a bad draw for them this turn. Let's see what they can do. Eldar turn 3 movement phase. End of Eldar movement phase turn 3, and this Falcon has remained in place. It's holding the objective 2 that the Eldar need to score, and the Dark Reapers are sport for choice with targets, but things are looking grim. They are still in their tower. This Falcon is moving round to target the Paladins with its deadly weaponry. Will it be enough? Who knows? It is really banking on its wingman taking out the Dread Knight. Meanwhile, the Dire Avengers, from the aspect host, they have moved into the centre of this ruined building. They are surrounded by a sea of silver armour, and they are preparing to make their last stand. They haven't decided who they're shooting at yet, but they can't take out all of the Grey Knights surrounding them. With no psychic phase, as the Grey Knights have successfully executed all of the alien witches, we go straight into Eldar shooting phase turn 3. End of Eldar shooting phase turn 3, and it was very effective from the Eldar. Just what they needed now. Every one of their units managed to take out its target. This Falcon holding objective 2 managed to take down the Nemesis Dread Knight. This Falcon with its pulse laser and its star cannon managed to take out 1 Paladin and wound another, leaving only 2 Paladins in the squad, each with 1 wound left. That was too good an opportunity to be passed up by the Dire Avengers, and they unleashed a volley, taking down both remaining wounded Paladins. And the Dark Reapers decided that they need to deal with the Incinerators and the 2 members of the Interceptor squad that took down so many of the Eandan Guardians were shot down by a swarm of missiles from the Aspect Warriors. So, targets being eliminated by the Eldar, but is it too little too late? With no assaults, let's see how they got on with their objectives in their third turn. End of Eldar turn 3, and they managed to secure objective 2. But they did not manage to secure objective 3, way over in the Grey Knights deployment zone, or achieve domination, unsurprisingly. So they scored 1 point during their turn, bringing the score at the end of Eldar turn 3 to 10 points to the Grey Knights and 8 to the Eldar. Going into Grey Knights turn 4. Start of Grey Knight's turn 4, and they have drawn. Behind enemy lines, should be doable. Secure objective 4, which should definitely be doable, and psychological warfare. Maybe not. Let's see. Going into Grey Knight's turn 4 movement phase. End of Grey Knight's turn 4 movement phase, and the two venerable dreadnoughts have turned their las cannon towards the Eldar grav tanks now. They need to take them out. The purifiers know that they are just in range with their storm bolters of the Dire Avengers that are holed up in this ruined building, so they are holding position to give fire. Meanwhile, the interceptors have leapt from objective 6 and they are looking to take on the Dire Avengers. The Terminators are closing in, barging through the walls, and the other strike squad still got their incinerator there as well, just in case the Dire Avengers prove resilient. But they've moved into a position to secure behind enemy lines, and they are thinking about directing their fire at the Dark Reapers should the Dire Avengers be wiped out by the other squads. We went straight into the psychic phase as well. The Eldar had no chance of stopping Hammer Hand being cast on all three of these squads, just in case the Dire Avengers need mopping up even more, but they probably won't. Let's see how the Grey Knights get on in their 4th shooting phase. End of Grey Knight shooting phase turn 4, and not a particularly effective one. The two dreadnoughts targeted this Falcon with their las cannons and missile launcher. They only managed to do one glancing hit, and it didn't jinx, so they have to face its firepower again next turn. The purifiers managed to shoot down one Dire Avenger at long range, and another 2, including the Exarch, were taken out by this interceptor squad. They are preparing to charge, so their brothers in the strike squad and in Terminator armour decided to leave the 3 remaining Dire Avengers to them and opened fire on the Dark Reapers. But between them they managed to take out the Dark Reaper Exarch. So, not much happening in the shooting phase, but we have an assault. The hammer-handed interceptors are going in to the Dire Avengers. Let's see how they get on. Grey Knight's assault phase turn 4. End of Grey Knight's assault phase turn 4, and the interceptors did lose a battle brother to the overwatch fire of the Dire Avengers, but made the charge and using their Nemesis Force halberds hacked the Eldar Aspect Warriors apart. Another quick phase, because there's not too many of the enemy left from the Grey Knights' perspective. Let's see how the Grey Knights have got on with their objectives this turn. End of Grey Knight's turn 4, and they managed to achieve behind enemy lines with the strike squad, and they managed to secure objective 4 with the interceptors, bringing the score at the end of Grey Knight's turn 4 to 12 points to the Grey Knights, 8 to the Eldar. What can the Eldar hope to do in their 4th turn? Let's see. Start of Eldar turn 4, and they have drawn secure objective 4. Seems unlikely. It is surrounded by Grey Knights. They have also drawn supremacy. Difficult to see how they're going to do that. The Grey Knights are currently holding an objective over there with their dreadnought, another one here with this dreadnought, and they're holding objective 4. I don't think the Eldar have enough to knock them off objectives and seize double what they have. I can't see it happening. And they have kept secure objective 3 from their previous turn. The plan is, if one Falcon can knock out that dreadnought, the other Falcon can grab the objective. Let's see. Going into Eldar turn 4, movement phase. End of Eldar movement phase turn 4, and maybe I spoke too soon. The Eldar have got their eyes set on securing objective 3 and supremacy. If this Falcon can knock out that dreadnought and will secure objective 3, take it away from the Grey Knights, this Falcon is on objective 2, and if he can knock out this other dreadnought, that will take them off objective 5. That means the Grey Knights will only be holding objective 4, because realistically Two Dark Reapers cannot sweep all these Grey Knights away. But the Eldar will achieve supremacy. They do have to destroy two Dreadnoughts though. Let's see, with no psychic phase we go straight into Eldar turn 4 shooting phase. End of Eldar turn 4 shooting phase, and their sneaky plan did not quite come off. This Falcon did not manage to do any damage to that Dreadnought with its weaponry. All of its fire pattered off the Dreadnought's mighty hull, meaning in an effort to secure Objective 3 this Falcon also had to target the Dreadnought, but he only managed one penetrating hit which has shaken the Grey Knight's war machine, but not very successful from the Eldar. The Dark Reapers, only two left, but they are still deadly, and they managed to take out two of the interceptors rapidly approaching through the ruins. I don't think it's going to be very good news, but let's see how the Eldar got on with their objectives in their fourth turn. During their fourth turn, the Eldar unfortunately did not manage to secure Objective 3. They also did not manage to secure Objective 4, and they certainly did not manage to achieve supremacy, so they have scored no points during their fourth turn, meaning that the victory point score remains 12 to the Grey Knights and 8 to the Eldar, going into Grey Knights turn 5. Start of Grey Knights turn 5, and they have drawn Assassinate, which is unfortunate because the Eldar have no characters left. They have also drawn Secure Objective 1, finally, over in the sector of the battlefield that no one has yet entered. I don't think they're going to bother either. And the final objective is Big Game Hunter, which I think is top of their list of priorities anyway. Going into Grey Knights, movement phase, turn 5. End of Grey Knights, turn 5, movement phase, and the Purifiers have realised they're too far out of the battle to do much now, so they have held position. The Dreadnought at the foot of the building has started moving through these ruins. He is looking to target the grav tanks again with his twin-link las cannon, as is his battle brother encased in his Dreadnought, but he can also use his body as a battering ram. Maybe he will try and knock this Falcon out of the air with a charge. The rest of the Grey Knights are closing in on the two remaining Dark Reapers. The interceptors have leapt up to the first floor, and the strike squad continue to move slowly through the ruins, as do the Terminators. They are crunching their way through. They can either open fire on the rear of that Falcon with their Stormbolters and Silencer, or they can join with the interceptors and the strike squad and sweep the Dark Reapers away. Could we see a tabling this turn? Let's see. Going into Grey Knight's Psychic phase, turn 5. End of Grey Knight's Psychic phase, turn 5, and they have realised that there is not much more use for their psychic powers. On this battlefield they are looking to their weapons to finish the aliens off. They didn't want to risk any perils of the warp, so they did not bother to summon any psychic powers. Going into Grey Knight's shooting phase, turn 5. End of Grey Knight shooting phase, turn 5, and the phase opened with this Dreadnought detonating the Eldar Falcon holding Objective 2 with a single blast from its twin-link las cannon. An excellent shot from long range, and the two remaining Dark Reapers were swept away by an absolute barrage of Stormbolter fire. The only Eldar unit left now is the damaged Falcon, and the Dreadnought missed with his snapshots, but he is going to wade in and see if he can crush it with his bulk in Grey Knight's assault phase, turn 5. End of Grey Knight's assault phase, turn 5, and they have purged the alien from this world. The Dreadnought went crunching in to the Falcon. He used his body as a battering ram, and its hull splintered under his onslaught. He has wrecked it, and there are no Eldar left alive on the battlefield. The Grey Knights managed to get 1 point this turn from Big Game Hunter. They managed to take out 2 falcons. Those are the only points they managed to get this turn. So the score at the end of Grey Knight, turn 5, is 13 points to the Grey Knights versus 8 to the Eldar. But as the game has ended, the Grey Knights also score a line breaker, meaning that the final score for this epic matchup is 14 points to the Grey Knights and only 8 to the Eldar. And more importantly, it is a tabling. The Grey Knights have announced their arrival on this channel in some style. They were incredibly aggressive in the first turn. The deep strikes could have easily gone against them. Only one squad mishapped. But with the Seer Council going down instantly, they had psychic superiority, and because the Seer Council cost so many points, the Eldar were at a severe disadvantage. The Grey Knights have been mobile, aggressive and deadly. This really has been a great game, and we are looking forward to seeing the Grey Knights again as soon as possible. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and we will keep producing as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya!